Kevin Love, Patty Pimblett, Michael Phelps, Chris Evans. Okay, well, don't all look at me at once. These names are far more important than Captain America and the Avengers, the NBA Finals. Let's take Chris Evans, the one that you all looked at me for. Captain America and the Avengers, a group of superheroes that are here to fight such a broken world. A world that is far more broken than just physically, but mentally. When I was preparing this speech, it raised a question for me. Why, in today's society, is silence praised as strength when most of our battles come from within? I would like to take the next 8 minutes to talk to you about how men don't lack feelings, they lack permission. To do that, I'm going to use the MAN framework. M, masculinity myths. Well, what is a masculinity myth? Let me give you one. In today's society, silence has been mislabeled as strength. When we endure something tough, sad, heartbreaking, it is known that if we stay silent, we are strong. I want to teach you today that men don't lack feelings, they lack permission. To do that, I want to use a few examples, one of which is Kevin Love. For those of you who don't know him, he won the 2016 NBA Finals with the Cleveland Cavaliers. He decided to break what we will soon go into called the stigma. And he said, call it a stigma or call it a fear or insecurity. You can call it a number of things. But what I was worried about wasn't just my own inner struggles, but how difficult it was to talk about them. Men don't lack feelings, they lack permission. That word stigma sticks out to me, so I wanted to define it for you today. A mark of disgrace associated with a particular circumstance, quality, or person. Why is it that there's a stigma around our feelings? These myths need to be broken. Men don't lack feelings, they lack permission. A, avoiding vulnerability. What do I mean when I say avoiding vulnerability? Well, another one of those myths in today's society is that vulnerability regarding our feelings is immature, when really it's actually mature. The ADAA, Anxiety and Depression Association of America, did a study. They've found that 1 in 10 men experience mental illness symptoms. Well, 1 in 10 men, what does that mean? 417 million men. That's a lot. But they also found that less than half of that number reach out for help. Men don't lack feelings, they lack permission. That means that over 208 million men are struggling in silence. Why is that so few men are struggling to reach out for help? Well, men don't lack resources, they lack permission. Michael Phelps. Most of you probably have heard that name before. Upwards of 30 Olympic medals as a swimmer, most of them gold. He said, I remember sitting in my room for 4 or 5 days, not wanting to be alive, not talking to anybody. That was a struggle for me. I reached that point where I finally realized I couldn't do it alone. Men don't lack feelings, they lack permission. An Olympic swimmer, upward of 30 medals, most gold, more money than I can even try to make in my life, was so alone and didn't feel like he had the permission to speak out. Before I transition to the end, I wanted to give you a quote from Chris Evans, where he said, "The times in my life when I've been the happiest are when I've let myself be the most vulnerable." He chose to not avoid that vulnerability. And normalizing honesty. So what is my goal here today? The goal is not to make all the men in the room less strong. The goal is to redefine the word strength. Because silence is not strength. Strength is allowing for the room to be honest and vulnerable to others about how we feel. Men don't lack feelings, they lack permission. Before I close, I want to give some practical steps to apply. Let's recap that man framework. Masculinity myths, let's break them. Avoiding vulnerability. Let's change that avoiding to embracing. Let's embrace vulnerability and normalize honesty. Notice how that changes from man to men. Let's come alongside each other. Let's be honest with each other, and let's form community to be able to express how we feel. Now, there are not only men in this room. It does not only apply to men. Allow for that room for others to open up to you. Men aren't the only ones with feelings. I know women have them too. So let's allow for the room for everyone to be vulnerable and honest. Men don't lack feelings, they lack permission. As you remember, I listed a bunch of names in the intro. If you don't know why I listed them just yet, let me tell you. Those men chose to break the stigma. Those men chose to open up about how they felt, their struggles, and it's impacted many. Now, if none of those names that I listed in the intro apply to you, let me give you one that will apply to you. Josiah Needham. He stands in front of you today, surviving 7 suicide attempts through high school and going through many mental health demons. And I choose today to break the stigma. I want to leave you with one last story. In the middle of all those names, I said the name Paddy Pimblett. In July of 2022, Paddy Pimblett, a featherweight fighter in the UFC, was ramping up for one of his biggest fights in his career. 5 hours before his weigh-in was scheduled, he got a call from back home. One of his best friends had just committed suicide. Paddy had 2 choices. He could follow the stigma. He could be silent. He could drop out from the fight. He could show his strength in silence. But he chose to do something different. He went to weigh-in. He made weight. He went to that fight, and he went on to win. After that win, he did one of the most powerful things that the male athlete struggling with mental health has ever done. He gave a whole speech, and you can look it up online, but I want to give you one bit of it that really speaks true to my speech today. He is from Ireland, so don't mind some of the words he uses. People would rather, I know I would rather, my mate cry on my shoulder rather than go to his funeral next week. So please, let's get rid of this stigma, and men, start talking. So, as a people, today, let's start allowing room for vulnerability and honesty and realize that we as a people don't lack feelings, we lack permission. Thank you.